You know how every single small town has some quirky festival? Well, here's mine. But of course it is like 90 degrees here right now, so I had to put the hair back. Anyway, I haven't lived here in about 20 years, but I decided to come back to the very town I graduated high school from. Very small town. This is it. To attend Beanhole Days. So while I walk around town, let me explain what Beanhole Days even is. Starting in 1938, Pequot Lakes started to hold what was called Beanhole Days. It was started by farmers and it became this really well-known thing in the area, and now it hosts thousands. It's held right here in the city center of Pequot Lakes. While this place isn't where I call home right now, this place will always be, in a way, home to me. This town holds so many memories and inside jokes that I have with so many of my friends and family. As a matter of fact, the building that my parents built for their candle company they used to own here, it is now City Hall. And I went in there a little earlier. Didn't take any photos or videos because obviously like I wasn't about to make that content. That was for me and me alone. I got to get a little tour, and it just, so many memories, so many emotions keep flooding back. It feels like I haven't been here in 20 years, but also feels like just yesterday. So right now I'm walking down the Paul Bunyan Trail, which actually used to be a railroad that came through town, but was decommissioned well before I moved here and was turned into a state walkway that connects Pequot Lakes to a nearby town called Nisswa. And it actually goes further that way too. Britt Lakes area is one of the places where we are sure that the Paul Bunyan folklore started here, to the point that we actually have a Babe the Blue Ox statue right here. And before the festivities get started, I just wanted to soak in this place again just a little bit and really experience it again, because it's been a long time since I've lived in a small town. To write a small town romance, I really wanted to embrace living in a small town again. So I'm here for Beanhole Days, one of our quirky little festivals. Let's go. Because it's been so long since I've been here, I've driven through here, I've visited the area many times in the last 20 years, but it's been a long time since I've actually gone walking here. And I forgot just how peaceful it is to walk on the Paul Bunyan Trail. It's one of the many things I love about this part of the state. There are also a lot of things I hate about this part of the state. And the things I love about this part of the state is just how quaint and quiet it all is. A place you can find stillness. I talked about that in Romance Tropes Decoded. We talked about how it's a place you can find stillness and quiet, except for when my friends text me because they know I'm in town. How it's peaceful, how a walk like this could barely exist in the Twin Cities. They exist, but you have to leave Minneapolis for sure to get something this quiet and secluded. And I love it. I also love where I currently live, which is why I feel like my experience in both a small town and a big city can really help me write the best small town romance that I possibly can. But that's something that I talked about in the Romance Trope Decoded video that I did about small town romance, is the fact that this is a place that you can find quiet and stillness in a way that you can't in a bigger city. All right, good morning. It is now the next day and we are here for the true festivities. I missed the bean dropping ceremony. It is what it is. I decided to spend time with a friend instead. But here we are, back in Pequot. And not only that, but I might, after Beanhole Days, go to turtle racing. Yes, I said turtle racing. Nisswa hosts turtle racing during the summer every Wednesday, and I wanted to know if they still did it. So I went downtown Nisswa today before coming into town, and sure enough, they do. I'm staying in Brainerd, Minnesota, which did stay. I checked out of my hotel because I was only here for the one night. But I was staying in Brainerd, and to get to Pequot from Brainerd, you go through Nisswa. So I decided to go through downtown because not only that, but downtown Nisswa is also just very, very nostalgic for me. My first 2 jobs were literally in Nisswa. And so I went through downtown Nisswa, and sure enough, they're still doing turtle racing every single Wednesday. So after we get our beans done for the day, I really do think I might just go to Nisswa and go do turtle racing. But first and foremost, Beanhole Days. Let's go. So we've got a little bit of time before the festivities actually really get started. I walked through the booths and now I want to show you my small town. So let's take a look and walk down memory lane. So this mural was actually painted, I think I was 12 or something when this mural was painted. But it was painted because the governor was coming to do the 4th of July parade here in Pequot. And so we painted this to make our town look a little bit prettier, a little nicer. I actually got to meet Jesse Ventura that day because the parade started right outside of Kinsey Candles, where my parents' candle company was. That was the name of it. I got to meet him. There is somewhere a picture of me and Jesse Ventura. So pretty cool. This is the church I grew up in. I want to go in there and see how much things have changed over the years, because we stopped coming to this church a long time ago. But it'd be fun to walk in there. It is basically in the shadow of the old water tower, which is the bobber. The actual water tower is down that way now. Some of these shops, like Thurlow Hardware up here, have been here since before I was even here. We moved here in 1981. All right, Merritt Jewelers was where I actually went and bought like the most expensive jewelry still to this day have ever owned. I don't know what happened to it. I bought it back in probably the year 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. And I lost it at some point and it's gone forever. All right, now we're heading the other direction. Still got a little bit of time before I have to worry too much about getting back in time for the actual bean ceremony and getting the beans. Gotta stop and get my mug. I bought a mug specifically for it, but also because I wanted to have a mug to commemorate being here again for the first time in more than 20 years. I'm gonna walk by my old high school. I drove by yesterday and it is torn to pieces, so just be aware. But there shouldn't be any kids there today, so it's safe to go by and film it because, you know, it's a public building, so I'm not gonna go inside. I would love to. I'd love to see how much that has also changed, but I think it's a little weird for me to go in there 20 years after I graduated. 21, actually. Officially 21 years since I've graduated high school, because I graduated in 2005, May of 2005. So officially more than 21 years. Good Lord. This town has both changed and not changed in so many ways. You can actually see the high school from here now. You used to not be able to, but they've cleared out a lot of trees recently-ish. Again, it's been 20 years since I've been in that high school, since I would have walked like this to and from the high school. On Fridays, seniors at the time got to have open lunch, and so Shayna and I would always walk to Lakes Latte, which at the time was in this building with the red roof on it. It was a grocery store, but the other side of it was a coffee shop called Lakes Latte. Lakes Latte is now over in the actual town square area now, which is where Beanhole Days is. We would walk to Lakes Latte, so this was a very normal walk for us. We would walk to Lakes Latte, have some lunch and a coffee, and then walk back to the school. And yeah, that's what we would do every Friday. So senior year. And so I know this town extremely well, but like this particular walk feels very familiar to me. This addition over here was built well after I graduated, but this is their gym now, which is just crazy to me. It used to be a parking lot and a skate park. And then in the wintertime, they'd fill it with ice, and we could go either in the summer, spring, fall months, people could skateboard, and then during the wintertime, people ice skated. That's what used to be right there until they built this, and now it looks like they're doing some more remodeling on the outside. But that tall part right there is where I spent most of my time. That was in fact the theater department. Actually, that whole front portion was all performing arts. So that's where theater was, that's where choir was, that's where band was. And so yeah, I spent a lot of time at the front of that school. And then this is really cool. This building right here is where Kinsey Candles actually was before we built the building. My parents built the building that I went and toured yesterday. Matter of fact, they built this addition right here, and that still looks like it's the same. That was their shipping department. This was all torn down and rebuilt, where the garages are right there. That specifically was their gift shop, that section right there. So That's where Kings of Candles was when we first bought it. And then my parents built the building on just the outskirts of town. And it looks like the White House. And now is the City Hall of Pequot Lakes, which is very, very, very cool. So yeah, so much has changed, but also so much is still exactly the way it was when I left it 20 years ago. This is another thing that changed, unfortunately. Oasis Sports Shop used to actually be the Oasis restaurant. My favorite story of that was, I think it was senior skip day, or it was because one of our sports teams got to state. Anyway, I walk into first period, which oddly enough was the teacher that accused me of plagiarism that year. But nobody was there. There were like 5 of us in class. And Mr. H walks in and he looks at the classroom and goes, "Is this it?" We're like, "Yeah, this is it. Everybody else skipped out." And he's like, "All right, go grab your coats. We're going to go get breakfast." And so we came to the Oasis to have breakfast. That was the last time I went to the Oasis for breakfast. It was the last time I think I've ever been to the Oasis, actually. And now it's no longer a restaurant. Back on the Paul Bunyan Trail, heading back to the event. So I'm not totally sure where, but somewhere in this park, I just don't remember where, but somewhere in this park, one of my classes, I'm not even sure, I want to say I was like in 3rd or 4th grade, buried a time capsule. And I'm curious if that is still underground or if they ever just unearthed it because of all of like the changes that they've made. Like this wasn't here when I was a kid. You know, there is now a playground over there that wasn't here when I was a kid. Lots of things that weren't here when I was a kid are here now. Being back here is so weird, but also so much fun and almost in a way healing. I was not anticipating that. I had such anxiety coming here, but it's been nothing but just wonderful and fun and stuff. And I'm just sitting on a park bench in the park. Got about another hour before they unearth the beans. And the king and queen will try the beans. And then as long as they approve of the taste of the beans, then we get all the beans. So we get the beans after that. So it is a very weird tradition, but it's fun and it's small town. And this is what a small town festival truly looks like and feels like. And yes, they exist and it's fun. So let's go enjoy some beans. And they're beginning to unearth the beans. You can see the names of the pots over there. Lena, Big Bertha, and Sven. All right, I got my beans and Elvis singing in the background. So, very small town in that. I haven't had these beans since I've been a kid. They are good beans. From one small town to another, now we are in Nisswa, Minnesota, which is the very next town over from Pequot Lakes. So Nisswa is definitely more of a tourist town, definitely more touristy than Pequot is or ever really honestly was. This is where you go to buy a bunch of things that you do not need, and some of which is definitely cultural appropriation. So gotta love small towns. We are here to engage in turtle racing. So let's do that. It is very smoky out because there are some wildfires up in Canada that are coming down this way. So it is a bit smoky out, has been for the last couple of hours, but we're still going to enjoy some much needed turtle racing. Everywhere in Nisswa, you're going to see these little turtle markings, these little turtle paintings on the sidewalks. Nisswa is famous in Minnesota for its turtle racing. So that's what we're here for. So this is the Paul Bunyan State Trail. This is what I was walking on before. Going that way is Pequot. So about 7 miles down the road.
Go!
Oh,
Oh, look at him. Oh, and then this one. Yeah.